States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. All right, do we have a motion to approve the February meeting minutes? Mark, second. Mike, any discussion, changes? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Bill, treasurer's report?
Okay. First one is the codes report. It's just a single sheet. I had to do it this way because codes on my desktop is in as a different company. So when I sign on to QuickBooks, I choose which company to do, the district or the codes. When it got moved over, under the plan we have, there is no method to put codes in as a different company. They're looking into putting it in as a different class. They're working on it, I don't know. So there is no way I can print out something, so that's why it's written like this. So at the top, checking account, what we started in February, the interest, no, I'm sorry, that's a checking account. We had one voucher last month, 500, and our balance is 1,297 in the checking. The M&T savings, 26,000 plus $52 in interest. A deposit of 3,000, which was Plainville's deposit for 1,500 for 2024 and 1,500 for 2025, bringing that up to 29,500. And what's in New York class is 61,578 plus interest 5254. And it brings us to a grand total in codes 92,641.68. And there are no vouchers this month for codes. Now,
Charlie, maybe we could talk about this tomorrow night at the codes meeting, but do we need to keep 26,000 in M&T? Can we move more over to New York class?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll probably ought to move some more of it over.
Okay. We'll talk about that and bring it back.
okay, and on the district report, I'm getting there. I'm saying probably about 80 to 85% here. First page, I got to print out the top, the front of page one, lists the current assets, and all of those figures, it lists the New York class, the M&T accounts, except for the codes accounts. Those are not correct. All the other numbers match the bank statements. So when you go to do the bank statements, all those figures will match the bank account. And it adds in the bottom, we don't need it, I'm going to try to get it out of there, but the service award investment down there where it says $937,000 is really, if you want to write that in now, it's $1,080,903.80. 1080,903.80. And then it lists the assets. I don't think you want that on every report, so I've still got to do some work there to get rid of that. Okay, page 2 through 5, and the pages, they get more pages each time, is the budget versus the actual for January through February 28th. It's beginning to look like normal, except it's getting longer. And on page 5, I'm just going to look at the very last thing at the bottom there. that $200 reconciliation discrepancy, that's the $200 that I opened the firehouse payroll in December. I had to put $200 in the account, open it. Firehouse payroll didn't start until January, so this is hanging out there in the books. But there's nothing, it's not there. And I was able to do a comparison report on page 6 and 7. From February 25 to February, comparing it to February 24. If you want those reports, you can also let me know on that too. Page 8 is the New York class accounts, all of them. If you look on that page, the last 3 are the new ones. There's one I don't need. I'm going to get rid of it. The firehouse payroll account. I opened it not thinking quick enough. That's going to be in the M&T bank because I need to change every 2 weeks. I've got to be moving money for the payroll. And it has to be a checking account anyway. It's not a savings. So that's going to come off by next month. But the New York State retirement one is there, the $55,000 in it. And our fund balance is there, $106,000. And that's $56,000 from last year and $50,000 from this year. Page 9 is the service award account. We lost $3,507, but this month going to be more, I'm sure. And this is referendums, page 10. And I at the very bottom, you can cross off, I put the 4,000 in twice. You have it to change QuickBooks to the cloud base up to 4,000, and then I wrote it again at the bottom to upgrade it. So we only use one of those.
I think we could finish up the referendum one.
That's what I was thinking. Yes?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're going to close that one.
Do you need a motion there?
Oh, I don't know.
Safety.
Well, I'll make a motion that we close referendum number 1, second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Page 11 is the principal and interest. I've made it, on the 15th, I made an interest payment for truck 2, $4,637. Sorry, yeah, $4,637. And the last 3 pages, 12 through 16, are tonight's vouchers. And for some reason, it loves to print out the interest. I don't think we need it on the voucher list, but on page 12, 3/4 of the page prints the interest out from the different accounts. And it starts at the bottom, it's the very first voucher, the hospital or health insurance. Next page, it only printed one on it, and then went to the next page. There's still 20% to work on this. But that's it. It's getting there.
Do you have any questions for Bill on any of this?
It's nice seeing those payroll fees. Smaller.
Yes, 178, 182, yes, compared to 950.
Do you have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
Mark? Kit? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? So carried. Looks like bank statements. Can you get those, Mike?
Mike, get some.
And do we need a motion to approve the bank statements?
No,
Check. About the vouchers. Looks like Mike made that motion and Mike seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
And I will verify the New York class.
Okay. And we closed out that. Correspondence?
Do not have any correspondence.
Okay. Chief's report? Chief Gleason?
February, 70 alarms. The average of 5.47 responding. The on-apparatus average is 3.25. 20 were fire, 70 were rescue. For purchase requests and notifications, the first one, looking for approval to apply for Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation grant. We looked at it a little bit last year, the period that we were in, it closed up. The reason we're looking for approval now, and we don't have a great big write-up for you, is it opens on April 3rd. We just saw it late last week and rifled together and put together information for it. So working with Chief Melchior, Chief Natoli, we're looking at applying for water rescue equipment. We don't have a sufficient amount of throw bags. The discs are okay, but not the best resource for the river. So we already have budgeted for this year new PFDs. Most of our PFDs are well over 15 years old, if not older. So we had already budgeted in the chief's budget this year for PFDs and throw bags. We shifted that over to this grant, and then we also looked at if we're going to apply for a grant, kind of maximizing what we're doing and doing it in a safe manner, meeting fire service best practices and confirming with Chief Melchior that it matches what's being taught by New York State, which is also national best practice. So firefighter Easton put together a package. We had looked at some devices to try to get significant reach across the river. The feedback we got on those is they're rather gimmicky and probably not what we need to move towards. Gave firefighter Easton the direction that we stay shore-based, surface water rescue. So in that package for the grant application, he put together so we already have some capability for ice, basically a sled that would go out in front of the rescuers to do ice rescue. And I will get you guys all this information afterwards. We just need the approval tonight because the application is before our next meeting. It's a device that pushes forward to get people out for ice rescue, recognizing that we already have some stuff. It's built with that in mind. And then it also incorporates dry suits and the equipment that goes with dry suits. Not to get in the water. Be clear, not to get in the water. The national standards, and Chief Melchior may be able to provide a little bit more information on what New York State is teaching. But in cold water scenarios, so right now our ice suits are old. They are a little bit leaky. They do the job, but they're not going to do the job for a long time. So by going to the dry suit, because we're not getting in the water, you can use that for ice rescue. You can also use that during cold weather for shore-based surface water rescue. Right now, if somebody does slip, somebody ends up in the water, they're better protected, and we've got a better shot at protecting our folks and keeping them safe. So again, this is not to get in the water. This is not to start doing swimming rescues. We are staying at the preach throw, a little bit at the go if we're on ice, right? But we are not advancing into swift water rescue. The other thing this does give us the capability of doing is if we have the training, if we have the personnel, if we decide in the next few years to go more towards that, then this equipment would also support that move, but it doesn't have to incorporate that move, right? So we'd be looking at 4 dry suit setups, throw bags, PFDs, which were already part of the budget for this year, and then 1 more ice rescue device. So that's what we would be asking for. The total ask comes in just under $16,000. The budgeted amount we already had in the chief's budget was $5,800. So that dry suit equipment is the additional on there. The funding guidance for firehouse subs says aim between $15,000 and $20,000, right? So we come in on the low end of what they're asking to do. So looking for approval to apply for that. Again, we stay shore-based, we stay surface. For swift water, ice, we're already getting on ice. Our ice rescue is static water, right? It's ponds. So we wouldn't be doing any swift with ice. It would only be for static water, which is already part of the profile. We've already done that in the past. So that's what we're looking for there.
Is that a sharing?
It is not.
Do you want a motion on that now?
I shall move.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded?
Kit, Mike? Thank you.
The next item I have on there is cascade system training. So what we're looking at, talking with folks, several of our bottles have come out of service because they have reached end of life. We have, I think we're at 3 pallets of bottles now in the back headquarters that are at end of life. What that means at this point is there is 1 spare bottle. We have a cascade system. We have personnel that have the ability to utilize that cascade system. Talking with line officers last night, it was the last time that training on that system was done was probably about 10 years ago. So it's time to refresh that training, expand that training to some more folks. Jerome's provided a quote of $202.50 to come in and do a train-the-trainer style training. So we'll sit down a bunch of folks, we'll get them very well read in on our compressor and its operation, and then they'll be able to train additional folks. Now, instead of having to stack up bottles to wait for the caretaker to come in on Monday, if we use a bottle, we fill a bottle, and we don't have to have that huge amount of reserve bottles in our inventory. We can just keep filling as we go. Makes better use of our compressor.
That's out of the chief's budget. We don't need a motion.
Yeah, it wasn't a line item. It was not something that we had prepared for, so this is outside of what was done in the budgeting last year.
Okay, so do we have a motion? Mike, second. Mark, any discussion?
How often does the training need to be done on the cascade system? Once and done?
I don't know what the standard would be on that. At 10 years and a few folks that are trained on it, it just feels like the right time to pull out the check sheets and get that documented. We can look into what that requires or if there's an NFPA recommendation to that training and try to match that. But this would be the first start is let's do a brand new round, let's get brand new documentation, let's get everybody refreshed so we're doing that safe. And then we'll look into that and see if there is recommendation on that, then we'll march along with that, right? We're trying to do as much as we can by NFPA when it comes to our breathing air, our SCBA, and our cylinders, so.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Into communications, Mr. Cullen from GVAC requested a meeting, sat down with him, we had a great conversation. Interagency relations are strong. I asked him specifically about the interactions between the crews on scene. He said it is going fantastically well. His crews are really adapting to some of our folks and utilizing them more and more and more. Some of our folks riding in and really just providing them additional support. So it was a very good conversation. It was good to hear that our folks are, the relationship is real strong between GVAC being one of our most important partners. The other thing that we have in there is I sent the Chief's Office Division of Labor to all the commissioners, so you all have that so you can see generally who's responsible for what, right? It is really a partnership between the 3 of us, but we are trying to take main areas of focus and try to funnel that work through. That was sent to the line officers today, and then we will get that out to the department at their next meeting, and we'll get it out to the career staff so everybody's aware of what that looks like. Moving on to projects, so we did the hose order that goes towards our hose standardization. We've received all of that hose. We have everything that we need now. We are still outstanding the 4-inch supply for new 21. But all the attack hose is in. We have a crew that is going to get together and they're going to do testing, flow testing, to see what our actual pressures need to be for our pump. So we'll work that out. We'll develop guidance and put guidance out to everybody on what the pump pressures are given the various lines, the various nozzles, various diameters. So we'll have very good, very clear guidance for all of our pump operators on what they're pumping once we're done with that flow testing. So we won't do the standardization, we won't get that hose loaded until we're done with that testing and we really have that clear guidance. The next thing, the Wildland tools, that was a New York State grant that was a 50-50 share between New York State and the district. Those tools minus 4 pieces have all been received, so those are all sitting back there. As soon as, yep, those have shipped. As soon as we get those last 4 pieces, I'll get together with the Rangers. They'll review it all and they will submit for the reimbursement. So the district will pay for that and then we'll get reimbursed from New York State as they process that paperwork. But we're very close to putting a bow on that and being done with it. Officer meeting was held last night. Discussion around the table from everybody, nothing earth shattering there. And then our officer development for last night was working through a Mayday checklist. So we had mandatory RIT training that we put all of our firefighters through. Last night we focused on the officers, whether they're operating inside a fire when a Mayday is called, or if they're outside in a command role, and work through a Mayday check sheet to try to work off of the RIT scenarios that were done and just brought some awareness to that. That's all I have, pending your questions.
Any questions? No. Very good, thank you. Deputy Chief Natoli, any report on?
Did Chief Natoli have a report?
No report from Chief Natoli.
Assistant Chief Malko?
Training-wise, real quick on that ice rescue, thank you very much for considering getting equipment. When we were doing the training recently for the state, Northwest Chief was there and I was there. We discussed that we're going to do some training together between the 2 groups, most likely probably next December to get ready for the season. So that's already being discussed and we'll plan that out soon. Other training news, more good news in my mind is we have gotten some of the members to start doing some state classes, sometimes the first time in many years, which is awesome. Or get people to go to state classes and get caught up. One of the things that we're working on right now is trying to get 100% of the department in the water rescue awareness program. We almost got everybody done on that one, so that's another good thing we're trying to push towards. Weekly training, comments made last week was some of the best training they've seen in a while because it was literally just doing what we do at the scene. We actually recreated one of our recent calls, and so we got a chance to practice that and get better at it, which was great. Also, for all you commissioners, if you're interested, spoke to the instructor that's doing the cancer awareness class that's being held April 22nd. It's a Tuesday night. They encourage that we bring all chiefs and all commissioners to the information so that you guys can hear it if you want to, so you know what's going on, what the state's putting out for the training. If you can't attend, I can also present that to you guys if you'd like also. If you can't make that night, give us a different night and I'll be glad to present the same material. But April 22nd, it's close by. It's at Liverpool EM, which is not that far away. It's a great location. Anybody's welcome to attend. The instructor's fine with it. He's a local guy, an Onondaga County State fire instructor. So we'll be glad to have all of you there if you're interested. Other than that training, this next month's training, we're going to go into pump ops and some more driver training and some EVOC coming up this next month. EMS-wise, we got a couple things going on for airway training, and we're also working on completing our requirements from CNY EMS, our regional, to complete our mandated reporter. We're about, I think, 4 people away from finishing in the 16 for their 2 hours of training. So other than that, any questions for you guys?
You have 16 EMTs?
On the books, that's correct, sir.
I'm not saying that as a joke, I'm just shocked. Okay, thanks.
Well,
I thought it was like 9, but.
Around
okay.
16.
Okay, cool. Only other thing I have is I asked you for a task last week, or last month, how'd you do?
Which one is that? I've got so many people asking, you refresh, I'll give you an answer.
I am responding. The tracking
On the actual,
for the apparatus, for the, it's, for a person in your position as a chief, you're gonna want that. Because you're gonna hear 6 units call out, and you're not gonna remember them. But when you get on the scene, you're gonna be able to see them all come in. And you're gonna see who's first, who's not. And when you want one engine and one truck and that's it, but you got 6 of them coming, you can pick it away right away. It may sound like it's nothing, but if you watch them on a screen, you're gonna see as a chief, you're gonna want that. And especially since all of our calls, not just ours, but everybody in the county, everything is mutual aid. Especially when you get to daytimes or 3 in the morning, you could be coming from 4 districts over, and that's your first one, because we've been that way to Plainville.
we just had that conversation last night in the officers meeting, trying to distinguish this county and how they number their equipment and who is available and what piece is coming.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to work on that one.
And again, it'll tell you, you don't have to remember the box, but it'll tell you if you got an engine coming or a truck coming or something like that, or if it's just a car coming to assist you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Committee reports. Long-term planning. Michael?
Have a meeting planned for September 24th at 7 p.m. September. I'm sorry. March 24th. See if you're all still listening. March 24th, 7 p.m.
It is long-term planning, so why not say
That's
that?
good. Pretty out there.
New apparatus committee.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. Last under public safety, tomorrow night's the meeting, 7 p.m. at Cody. Again, everybody is welcome. Budget and finance.
I'll be putting together the timeline for the 2026 budget, probably within the next month.
Okay. Technology, I know that the department has their new computers and waiting on mine, and
Is that on your desk?
I don't know.
There was something sitting there, that's right, that you came in for.
It's on this desk. I need to check one more thing on it.
Okay,
Okay. It's not done yet.
don't touch it.
Okay. Personnel. Okay.
I guess the Personnel Committee sent an email to the other commissioners regarding the recommendation of hiring a community risk reduction specialist. I guess perhaps if I could ask Chief Gleason to briefly discuss this.
Yep. So one of the things is we are evaluating specifically with the 3 chiefs, but something that we've been talking about is we are currently not represented at town planning. And there are a number of projects happening right there. We know they're talking about development. We know this area is going to be ripe for that. And we don't have the personnel that are properly trained to sit there to understand that, to understand the public safety implications, or to bring back and let us know what those implications are and allow us to take action and make recommendations back on. So that was the driving force behind looking at community risk reduction. The other things, and this is something that is well established and used throughout the country in the fire service, there's a framework for it, the 5 E's, and that's part of the information that I gave you. really what we're looking for, and I outlined the responsibilities in the draft that you have. Really, the first thing is those town planning board meetings and being involved in what's happening in the community. And that's really what community risk reduction is all about. So that would be the first place. From there, we're looking at fire prevention activities, looking at Knox box locations. So we talked about it last night. We have some facilities that use Knox boxes. Some of them are hidden. Some of them are in a position where they aren't being utilized during emergencies. So there's room for improvement on some of the things that we're doing. Hydrants, we know the discussion of hydrants and super long lays to hydrants. So, right, we need guidance in that. We have started submitting premise histories, and we've talked significantly about pre-plans. So this person would spearhead that, right? They would be the point of contact for that. They would be getting all of the vital information, bringing that back to the fire department, bringing that back to the chief's office, bringing that back to line officers, and helping us coordinate those activities. One of the things that was discussed specifically was enrolling us in the American Red Cross Smoke Detector Program and guiding our participation in that, so we can hit at-risk folks that don't have detectors and do smoke detector installs, do it in a manner that is part of an already established program, reducing liability on the fire district, right? We're not just randomly going out and putting up smoke detectors, but possibly putting them in the wrong place, possibly not doing it to code, right? Going into a program that exists and using their guidance. There's a lot of places this can go, but I think we have a number of priorities right out the gate outlined. Enough work to keep somebody busy right out the gate in these priorities outlined. So this would be, we're looking for a part-time position, putting them in a Belgium Cold Springs uniform, making them part of the family, and really helping guide community risk reduction for us. When the three chiefs met, the first thing that we did was broke out as a chief's office, what should we be involved in, to then figure out who was going to do what. And the great big gap in what we split out was community risk reduction, and this will help cover that.
Okay, before we get into discussion on this, do we have a motion to approve or we have a motion for the position as presented?
Or do we discuss it first?
Usually you make a motion, then you discuss it, and then you vote on it.
Because if you have a discussion and don't like it, why did you approve it 10 minutes earlier?
So the motion is made,
To make the
and
discussion.
then you discuss it, and then you vote on it. So you make the motion, somebody seconds it, it's open for discussion, discussion is had. Once that's satisfied, you vote on it. So you either vote yes or no, whether you like it or you don't like it. Correct? Correct.
As long as we all agree. That's all that matters.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, made the motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Now, it's open for discussion. Mike Malone seconded it. Okay.
Or, question I have is, with the fire prevention, we have gentlemen that during the daytime, our career guys could be coming out, helping out during fire prevention and everything else. And I haven't seen that happen in the last year since we've had it.
They have been on fire prevention details, and fire prevention is really the least of this position.
Correct.
This is somebody that, right, would participate in that, and part of what this would do, right, is not necessarily do all the pre-planning, but help guide us in a direction where when our staff is working the day, hey, for this month, we're doing a pre-plan here. So everybody get out, get your opinion on it, get a look at it. What do we need to do? What are our considerations? And get a number of voices applied to it. So our folks have been on fire prevention details. And really this position, yes, it's involved in fire prevention, but it's a very small piece. Community risk reduction and fire prevention are not equivalent, right? It's a completely different
Well, and that
program.
was leading to my next question is the pre-plan. That was part of their, if I'm not mistaken, last year, part of their job was to go around and look into doing pre-plans and everything else throughout our district. That I haven't seen any maps or any information on any type of a pre-planning.
Right, not formal pre-plans. And we have a lot of folks that are getting familiar with our district. Right, so there has been a significant amount of time on the road, out in the street, looking at it, looking at hydrant distances,
But
looking
if
at
we're-
communities, neighborhoods.
If we're
So for-
doing pre-planning, wouldn't that also be documented so that we could have?
Formal pre-plans, yes.
We talked at one time for the department-wise, was having a subfolder possibly on our computers of pre-plans and documents of, okay, here's your hydrant, your closest and everything else. Premise history and everything else. I know it's real hard to get the owners of these businesses around to respond back. That's a tough thing to do. But for the pre-planning, I just haven't seen.
You're correct, because who's leading that charge?
Yeah.
None of the line officers, none of the chief officers. Let's bring somebody in to lead the charge and get pre-plans.
Been there, done that, and I was criticized for not following through with it, which I did. And like I said, you present everything to the business, you give them everything that they need, even in an envelope to send stuff back, they don't respond back.
So I think what will happen is, what it sounds like is we need to modify that. So whatever didn't work with this individual, whomever, coming in, will have a different approach, and then it'll be, the businesses will be more responsive. I mean, who doesn't want to protect their business? I think that that is something that they would like to do. So I think, that's looking ahead, that would have to be redesigned. I think from a standpoint of having somebody at the town meetings, the planning board meetings, where we are represented, again, you look at short distance away from here where this rather large facility is, and yet the road is so narrow to get apparatus in. So again, it's a private road, and yet still, it's a big building where there's a lot of people that go publicly there. So I think that's a positive thing. We don't have anybody that has the time or the ability presently to attend the meetings. It was discussed, there had been other people that had previously gone, but you're looking at a lot of buildings, a lot of residents going off of 370, the same thing over on Drake's Landing, so we definitely need to have a say and know what's going on before it's too late. So from that standpoint, I think it's a good thing.
Right, and that's the overall goal, is for this person to continue to plug us into the community. So as we work through mission, vision, values, right, and then you go on to the SWOT analysis that we have up here, right, that all becomes community facing as we transition through that, right? So this is another step of that. If you look at Chief Eaf's phases that he presented to us, in there was community risk reduction. Right, so this actually gets us a step ahead of that. We can identify somebody and really start doing a little bit of the reactive work that we have to do at the same time that we start being proactive and start getting in front of that, right? To your point, we're at the town, we have a face, we have a presence, we have consistency in our voice and our mission and our message to the community of what we're here for them, right? So that's really where we're going. We do have some reactive work that we have to do, but the goal is to get proactive sooner rather than later.
Right.
So the other question is, whoever takes on this position, will they be willing to work nights to go to these town meetings?
That will be part of the position. That'll be part of the requirements.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I've got a few things. First of all, somebody write this one down. I somewhat agree with Mark on some of this, so write that one down. My first concern is this has come out 5 days ago for us to see. I know there's no urgency for it because it would have been done years ago. I guess my first question is, who else did you interview for this position? I know the individual you may be thinking of was brought in for another position. I know we have other applicants that are just as qualified for this, if not more. And my only concern is we didn't give them an equal opportunity to participate in this. I'm not sure how much the board has gone through the 5 Es. Can you give me 2, Mike?
Education, engineering,
Can you expand on them?
education for the public, engineering as to how the system runs. I'm trying to think of the other 2. I did read it. I just didn't read it that in depth.
I just went to you because you're the far end. So my other question is, what do you think is our 2 high risks for this district? What are our main priorities that we need to attack and what the CRR does?
Yes, so that's outlined in what you got, right? So reading right off of it, primary responsibility is going to be planning board, right? Right out the gate, that's what that is. And bringing those recommendations back, and then initial collateral responsibilities will include assistance with the department and district fire prevention activities, Knox box location review and recommendations of properties for lockbox installation, hydrants, premise histories, and pre-plans. Additionally, the CRR specialist will enroll the district in the American Red Cross Smoke Detector Program and guide our participation. So those are the priorities right there.
So my understanding for a CRR, community risk reduction person, they take a high targeted area problem and try to address it. Whether it's a nursing home with falls or an assisted living with excessive burning food on the stove, where they had minimum supervision, they go on in and they address that with the caretakers and everything else. I don't know of any of those problems here. What the chief has just read off is more of a code enforcement officer. That's what Woolsey does for the town of Lysander. So I'm curious on why we need to duplicate it for our own district and then submit things to him to have the plans changed, because we will not have the authority to change the plans.
So that is not the role of CRR, right? That is not a correct assumption. They do work on specific hazards, but it is globally applying those things throughout the district, right? So they are not focused on just one building. We built this off in Monroe, and if you look at Monroe's information, CRR programs in Monroe County aim to reduce all hazards risks within the area of operation. That's not a targeted thing. To your point about codes, yes, there is crossover, but in the codes, there is talk of the chief fire official and representing emergency services specifically. This person is not to go make sure that this toilet is installed 4 feet back from the doorway, right? The goal of this person is ensuring we have access, that we have water supply, that the roads are wide enough, that we have appropriate protection, either an alarm system or sprinkler system, depending on the occupancy, right? So there are a number of things that fall on the fire service that we have the ability to make recommendations on. That would be this person's focus, is representing the fire official, not being Town of Lysander Code, right? They are specifically our voice to Town of Lysander Code, right? So we have, to the point that was made, we have a roadway leading to a public facility that is not wide enough for apparatus and has trees growing in it that are going to become wider. So our access is going to become more limited, right? The expectation of the community risk reduction specialist and their involvement with codes would be to come back with those plans and tell us, hey, you are not going to be able to drive down this road in 10 years to a public occupancy. You need to go back as the chief fire official and say that this road needs to be widened. This road needs to be widened, and we submit that. Town of Lysander Planning now goes to the developer and says, This road is not wide enough, you need to go this wide for appropriate fire department access. Turning radiuses of our apparatus overlaid on the plans need to go on there, right? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't to the town engineer, right? Maybe they're doing that, maybe they're not. Right, so really this is not another codes person or another engineer. This is the voice of Belgium Cold Springs Fire District to those other outside entities.
How many of our 23 paid people, this is excluding the chiefs, qualified to do the majority of this? And I think that falls on to what Mark was saying. The sad thing is when Mark was doing it, it was Mark.
Right.
Now, you've got the 23 others, and they all come with various experiences for fire marshals on down. And they all have, no, I can say all. A lot of them have the coach classes already and the experience behind it. And I don't know if I heard it from the outside or over here, they're already here doing it.
Right, so two things there. Right, this person comes in and says, this is where you need to do a pre-plan. Now our folks do it. Right, they coordinate that. Our folks don't have the experience to sit down with a set of plans and look through that. They don't have that background and training. New York State Basic Firefighter does not give you the background and training to sit down with a set of plans and be able to interpret the fire service impacts.
No, but almost all of our people have more than 229.
Sure, but none of our folks have that additional training that takes you to that level to be able to read those plans, and that's our primary thing. I don't have that training. Right? I can sit down and I can understand what the hazards are and I can guess to it, but I don't have the specific codes knowledge to be able to back that up. So yes, right, we do have folks, our folks need to do the work. We're looking for somebody to pick those target hazards within a CRR framework, within a larger plan, and say, go do this, go do this, go do this, because this is your target areas. And now we push that over onto our folks to go do that, right? The specific interface with planning board should be consistent. It should be the same face, it should be the same voice, it should be the same person, and it should be somebody that can speak the same language. I have worked in fire prevention. I can't speak the same language, right? That's not within my training and background. That is a very specialized thing, and there are folks that have that can bring that to us as we look at increased development within the district.
When we go to a town board meeting, planning board meeting, the developer will bring up his maps. The district representative will voice their opinions and everything else, make recommendations and all. But overall, sometimes, 9 out of 10 times, they listen to our concerns, but they don't actually make those changes.
So there are areas in the code where we have the force of law. The chief fire official has the force of law. So by getting those plans when they're first submitted, by taking the time to review them appropriately and submitting properly written, properly done, legal requests back to the developer, they don't have a choice. Right? Because in the end, we have to sign off on those. So if they haven't made those changes and all of those recommendations are couched properly, they're referencing code, they're referencing appropriate public safety code. Now the developer doesn't have a choice, right? And that's where that's missing right now is, right, I can sit there and say, yeah, I want you to do this, and they can blow me off because I can't cite the code. We do get them in advance, we have the ability to do that, and we definitely would have the ability to make sure that we have the appropriate things as the code allows for the fire officials.
I would recall, I've never been in the chief's position, but I don't ever recall having a chief sign off on pre-plans before they could build.
They do have to.
Yes.
They do
They
have
do?
to approve it, yes.
Okay.
They do.
As I'm saying, I've never been in that position, so I didn't
And
know.
the town is looking at adopting a new state fire code that's due out later on this year. They're looking toward things that are in there that need to be modified to meet the needs for the town, having been at the town board meeting last week. So they're looking at all of this and would welcome the direct input from a single
Right.
person,
Well, when-
ongoing, same person over time. They
When-
haven't had anybody for years.
Right, when we have the meetings, there's always usually just one rep from our department and one rep from Plainville is usually the only two people that I saw within the town of Lysander, any representation.
At the planning board?
Yep. At any of the major events being built or businesses being built, you never saw any fire department representation there unless us, we've always pretty much went to almost every meeting. And Plainville is the only other representative that I've seen at those meetings. Other than that, no other departments attend these planning board.
So it'd be part of Northwest. Northwest is in the Lysander
Right,
also.
right.
So, again, so I think we're being proactive on that. You're looking at what we've got going on. There's development that is going on here. So we definitely need to have somebody there looking out for the potential new residents' best interest and our best interest to, be able to negotiate the streets and everything else. The hydrants are in the right spot, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's a good thing. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody within our department that has the time to do it. So at this point, we need to hire somebody to do it. So this is the position. We're not approving a individual. We're just approving a potential position here is what the motion is or what we're talking about right now.
Has there been any, because you're looking at part-time, has there been any discussion with making it town-wide?
No.
Again, that would share the cost, We could have a development this year and then Plainville has one next year and it's back to us to follow. If they're all sharing the costs, when something pops up, it stays with the same person.
Certainly something to explore. I think our interests need to be represented, and we've just missed another project. We have another project that's been approved, and our input was minimal.
As I pointed out in the email that I sent out, the terms of the hire would be, there would be no requirement that we keep the position filled, and we can decide its value and move forward as necessary.
I think you can do that if you do it as a private vendor.
Because if it becomes a civil service one, you've got to follow civil service rules and laws. And once, I believe they're in within a year, after a year, they're covered under civil service rules and all that. So it's not just as easy as to eliminate the position.
I think you're better off going with a vendor. And then if it becomes worthwhile, then you generate the position. But even at that point, I would generate it townwide and share the wealth and get it a full-time position at that point. Other departments will buy into it if you can show the value of it. I see the biggest concern is workman's compensation. We have plenty of people that step foot onto this property that come on in with their own insurance. All kinds of vendors that work for us. This person could be the same thing. And again, that falls into, if it ends up you don't like them or you want to make it full-time, they don't want it full-time, you're going to fall into, I'll just call it employment conflicts. That with a vendor, just like any other contract, if we don't like who's servicing our fire apparatus, we can change them next year. It's a vendor. And it saves a lot of hassle, especially with a new position. I think the vendor's the way to go. He supplies his own insurance, and I think he'll get more accountability out of the person for it.
So what I will tell you is, looking at a vendor model, the cost of insurance is prohibitive. So to hire people into this as a vendor with the cost of insurance that they have to carry to do this job is prohibitive. We don't pay them enough to cover their insurance. So what I understand what you're saying, at a part-time and at the rate that we are putting to this, the insurance that they would be required to carry for the district will cost significantly more than what they will get paid by the district.
I kind of have to go with what Mike is saying as a town-wide individual, because that would benefit all the departments that we also respond to. It'd be in everybody's interest, because, like I said, Plainville and us are the only two that go to the town meetings. If you can get somebody to represent the whole town of Lysander, Northwest, Seneca River, Plainville, everybody, that would benefit.
Tomorrow night, and I'm just going to go with the group's topic, is Lysander Public Safety. I think I know the chair. See what the other people in Lysander, if they want to jump on board with this.
I like that concept.
They might not understand it. But again, even if they jumped on board, I'd still go with the vendor thing to see how it works out. But again, more people on board may help cut the cost too, on our end, which may allow that vendor to increase his fee, but that fee is split by multiple people.
Benefit the whole town.
Okay. Any more discussion?
I have a question about conflict of interest. If 3 different places are paying him, who is he going to represent if there are 2 meetings on the same night? With different, say like Northwest has a meeting on Tuesday night and Lysander has a meeting on a Tuesday night, and he's being paid, say, a third from Belgium and Northwest and probably Plainville. So who's he going to represent?
What kind of meeting are you?
I mean, planning board meeting or something like that, or are they all split?
They're all Lysander.
It's all one.
So
They're all right there on the road.
Second Thursday of the month is the planning board meeting.
Right, so the point remains the same.
yeah.
And it's something to be discussed, but if they're representing multiple departments, yes, planning board is the primary responsibility, right? But yes, do you end up with, we also have this, we also have this, we also have this? That's something to consider in there, right? Planning board is all the same, and that person would take on all that, but you'd have to find a contractor willing to do that.
But as for the planning, like you're saying, and Barb sat there, and Charlie, I think, has also, they'll go through, let's say, your department, and then they don't go by fire department, but your property or whatever, and then the next person's the next. If you're representing 3 out of the 5, you just wait till your next property is called, and that's, you work on that. You're still there the same night for all the others. That type of thing. It actually saves you travel.
Just a thought.
So I don't think there'd be a conflict. I mean, most I've seen is 1 to 2 things per evening brought up.
Yeah. It's a rarity when there's anything significant on the planning board. Right now, as an example, for tomorrow, for Thursday, they've got a controlled site use for winds of Cold Springs Harbor, controlled site use for Reeves Farm, and then a discussion, a recommendation to the zoning board on the sign for Fireside on the River. This is a very light planning board month. You actually have to have your paperwork in about 2 to 3 weeks before the planning board actually meets in order to get on the agenda. So, like, I haven't seen the latest stuff on Timber Banks because they were discussing the new area that they're opening up. And that hasn't gone in for any final stuff because the guy was missing all sorts of things the last time he was there. I haven't seen that it's been back on the agenda yet, or else I'd be there. But you can know what's going to happen pretty far in advance. The latest big thing that they had was the discussion on the Melvin Farms project that we were there for, Mike, right? And that one was pretty inclusive, but it was in that early stage. The Timber Banks, or we were there for Timber Banks actually. That one was, they were still having discussions about things. They hadn't decided the placement of the hydrants. That's one of the things that this person would be doing, looking at the hydrants. I mean, you look at the hydrant down to our house with no water. Our neighbor called us at 6 the other morning because he was concerned about hydrant flow down the street. For our house, which isn't that far, the hydrant is here or it's around the bend. I tried to get another hydrant put in and I was told by a former chief, no, we don't need it on the street, or he told Aqua that it wasn't needed. Let's put it that way. And those are the things that this guy would be looking at, is the hydrant location, the turning radius, all sorts of things. And there's nobody there right now. They haven't had anybody there. They even said they haven't had anybody attend those meetings in years.
And all that has to be taken care of weeks before the meeting.
Well, you have to take the time to look at the plans and understand what the plans say.
Yep.
And see what's on the plans. The roadway that is so narrow, that's a problem. The other roadways in Timber Banks, there's a whole section in there that's tight for those turns on any of the apparatus. I mean, I don't know how the guys make it through some of those areas there as you go in on the left. Those are very tight. They don't even have an easy way of plowing those streets. Of course, they're all privately owned still. But there's a lot of development happening.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, we've got choices here. We can vote on it. We can table it. It seems to be the pleasure.
I think just because we were given 5 days, I'd like to table it at least for a month. Again, I'm not going to say we didn't need it before. It sounds good, but before we make a decision on the whole compensation, hours worked, we just, part of it goes against the uniform thing that we just put in, that everybody wears the same t-shirts. At least a month or so would be my preference.
Okay.
And then because if the membership starts hearing things too from this meeting, we'll get feedback from them potentially.
So Mike tabled it, so I think there's definitely a need. There is a need for this. Tomorrow night I'll bring it up at the Life Center Public Safety. We'll see what the interest is out there, if we can get others on board. And obviously they're not going to help us with our pre-plan and our Knox box location and et cetera, but those are still things that we need to address here as a department, as a district. So
you had a motion on the floor.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you have one person say they want to table it. Did everybody
Withdrawing
agree?
that motion?
Just tabled it. So when it comes next month, we will untable it. Further discussion.
Well, you have to vote to table it. Because you all have to be in agreement to table it.
Okay. Mike,
You already have a motion on the
to table it. Do we have a second? Mark? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I oppose. I just assume go ahead with it.
Okay. Any abstentions? We have one opposed. Any abstentions? Okay. So we'll table it. Moving on.
Truck maintenance. Squad 1, front end alignment. We've had some issues with some shimmy on the front right. We found out that the tie rod end was worn, so we got that replaced. We have a scheduled front end alignment set up for Thursday, so hopefully we'll get that back in service soon. Engine 11. I've got a couple of quotes that I've shared with Chairman DePriest. We've had some damage done on it recently. We've done some homework about getting it repaired. The first one, at full repair, came in at $12,412. The second one from the same company, Colton, the representative that we purchased the vehicle from. The second one was a basic repair, just doing a couple of the cosmetics on the outside. And that quote came in at $5,357.97. Got another quote, took it over to Jerome Fire Equipment, and their price, bend hose well back as best as possible, basic cosmetic, their price came in at $615. Very major difference in repair cost. I personally would like to recommend sending it to Colden for the basic repair of $5,300. Yeah. Not the full $12,000 that their original full repair. This is a basic repair.
What are they gonna do? What less will they do?
They showed me some pictures. I did not print the pictures out. They were going to be replacing the hose bed for the jumper hose. They're straightening the frame on that area also, and also straightening the step. And there's one other, I didn't go through the exact whole, what they took out, but instead of behind the main control panel itself, there was a frame piece in the back that was a little tweaked. They're not going to work on that, so they're not going to take off that pump panel side and straighten that frame in the back side of it.
That is not vehicle frame, to be clear.
No, that's just cosmetic type frame. It's nothing to do with safety of the vehicle. It's just cosmetic stuff.
And what was Jerome gonna do? Just fix that?
Just fix the step area, try to straighten it the best they could. Bend hose well, step back as best as possible, remove step to tray and straighten. And welding supplies, if the weld breaks. Bend hose well, box back as best as possible. That's what their quote came back as. So everything is basically best as possible, Jerome.
But with our deductible, it's our deductible $1,000.
So I prefer to take Colden for one, being it's a new piece of apparatus. It's their vehicle. If anything in the future goes wrong, it's all documented that they repaired or did the work on it. I would be happy with the $5,357 repair.
So we would be paying $4,000.
Correct.
If we take it to Jerome, we're gonna pay $615.
Yep.
If we take it to Colden, we're gonna be paying $1,000.
Yep. Yep.
Did he say how long was the downtime?
He didn't get into that specific yet. They just gave me the quotes. I don't know if it would be done here or if it'd have to go out to Buffalo to their main body shop. But these are just the quotes that I received for it.
If it goes to Buffalo, who does the transportation?
I believe that would be on Colden. I can follow up more on that. See if it's in here.
I didn't see it.
I don't see that.
When he was here for the estimate, I talked with him, and the repairs would be done up in Buffalo. So,
And this is all for cosmetic?
Yeah.
That's what they call it?
Yeah, pretty much. It's straightening everything on the right-hand side, the officer side panel. Getting it all back in alignment and everything else. Not taking off the main pump panel, straightening the bar that's behind it. It's got a little offset to it.
It doesn't affect the operation of
No.
the of any of the panels or anything?
Everything else right now, no. Where that little tweak is behind the main panel, it doesn't interfere with anything. It would be basically fixing the cosmetic, the step, the well, the straightening of the frame portion of it also, and being aluminum.
And then they're putting a muffler tip on there, or exhaust tip on there, and clamp and a few other things.
I guess my only concern is who has to transport it.
I can find out probably before the end of this meeting. I believe they would probably drive it out there.
But that would be, if that's included, it increases the cost, but our deductible remains at 1,000.
Correct. I can make that phone call. And during the old business, I'll step out for a second, make a phone call, find out. And then if you'd like, we can go back to that. Fair?
I'm inclined to go with the cold and smaller cold.
Correct. And that is all I have on vehicle maintenance right at the moment.
So let me ask this, by doing the lesser repairs, with whatever is not repaired, in the event that the vehicle is in some sort of a future accident, that would be pre-existing damage, what happens then?
If we take the lesser of the two cold and bids, you're thinking?
Well, if we file a claim for it, they're gonna look at all the quotes also and decide what's in the best interest for them to do. So it may not be up to us. I mean, they can go by a recommendation of we're happy with this and pay it versus the 12,000, but they're also gonna have their people review it.
Right. And my question is, at that point, with the damage that we're not addressing, what happens down the road?
I don't know.
And I don't think we do either. That's why I asked it, because I don't. So
My
I
guess is
think-
it's documented. If the damage is bad enough that it has to be repaired again, then it's gonna be part of that claim. But I don't know for sure.
They'll go pre-existing. So pre-existing is something else. This is
But it's
pre-existing.
not like it's pre-existing that it didn't work. If it's cosmetic and it's bad enough that we're doing another repair, it's probably gonna be the same amount of work to repair it. If it's bad enough that it's operations, the operations weren't damaged in this one. They're gonna have all that documentation. But I don't know, this wasn't asked until now.
Okay.
Pardon me 1 second. Yep.
All right, we'll wait till Mark gets back.
Dombrowski, how are you, sir?
All right, so we're at our commissioners meeting. And the question is, if we take it out of Buffalo for the repair, is that added in the cost or not?
Okay, hold on a second. Let me have the quote here. They gave me a whole quote. I got two different quotes. I got a $12,000 quote and I got a $5,000 quote. And the quote is not saying that.
Everybody take a 3-minute.
Commercial time. That's probably the best thing. Because pre-existing is, you said that, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, then we're washing our hands of that. So that will be our responsibility.
He is contacting his maintenance rep right now. Call right back.
Insurance company
I shouldn't believe it. Mine was $200, What is your point?
It needs to be done, it doesn't need to be done, that would be up to the insurance company, correct?
No, it's up to us.
It's up to us to file a claim. But it's up to us to which one we want to pay for.
So we can do the same thing for the state.
For the bond, for 5,000. Cosmetic wise,
That's how much would be released, because they listed every month.
training for free.
Plus the labor is-
Okay, so we'll wait till we get
Yep.
back from Mark.
Yep.
Moving ahead, fire prevention.
Nothing at this time. I'll be working with the department because I know we have that coming up in April.
Okay. And then we'll back up to building grounds maintenance, building and grounds maintenance.
Okay, building maintenance. I spoke with Luke regarding the pressure washer, and that is going to get replaced at $100 more because they don't make this pressure washer anymore, so it's going to cost us an extra $100 to upgrade to the next style that they have available. The only thing is, they are not going to add a whole new warranty. They're going to go off of the old warranty that's currently that we have. So for the extra $100, we'll get our pressure washer replaced. I told them to go ahead and order that. The other issue we have going on, this has been an ongoing issue for many, many years, is our driveway out front. We're not sure if a truck turned on it and caused the pavement to buckle a little bit. Chief Gleason and Amy have been working or reaching out to the county to look into this possibility. Was there a county rep or?
No. So there's two things. I provided you the county contract for folks that are on contract to do repairs to it. So that's the email you got today.
Okay.
The one routine use of it that we're aware of is the school district. So
Yes.
along with the contract today in the email, it's probably worth having a conversation with school district transportation, not necessarily saying don't use it, right? Is there a way to enter the property and a way to exit the property that doesn't require
A lot of turning or?
4 or 5 buses turning all in the same spot, right? So it's not, my recommendation wasn't going in and saying knock it off. My recommendation was we have a conversation about who, what, when, where, why are they using it, maybe a very, very valid purpose, right? And then talk about how we enter and exit to try to minimize damage.
Okay, I will follow up with more of the contact information that was provided today. Get some estimates or what our options are available to get that patched or the drain tile attached to the main catch basin.
Evidently, there's a spring there, right?
I believe there is, because that's always been an ongoing issue all winter. It's always icy up in that general area. The other thing that...
Joe Rotelli addressed that when we did the blacktop here. It was a problem.
Okay. And unfortunately, it's just an ongoing Mother Nature thing that we got to deal with. The other option that Chairman LaPriest has been working on, he's been in contact regarding the roof issue up at headquarters. He has asked the gentleman to provide us some estimates to try to do some patching. Mr. LaPriest has been up there.
So we had somebody over today, we were up on the roof, identified the locations that are leaking in potential future problems and other problems that are up there. And looking at multiple estimates, him. Got a sample here if you want. I can talk about what his system is what they do is they clean the roof, they put down a primer, they put down a sealer, they apply a material, and then they put another layer of the sealer over it, and then all of the fasteners are coated over with a
So that'd be
silicone. I'll call it, it's not silicone, but there's some sort of a sealant that they put over it. Told them that wanted multiple estimates on it, so we'll see where we're going.
So I'll just add
The roof is showing some
$300
age, so looking
each estimate.
here and there, you're seeing
Okay.
some
That'll work. Thank
situations
you.
that potentially futuristic
I
will
don't
be a
think so.
problem. Looks like there's some damage in the back left side.
I gotta get back to the
Would
meeting.
be the BC corner, the B corner
Okay.
of the building where ice had actually bent the roof, so a whole big section of it is bent. No leaks back there. I haven't seen leaks back there this year, but there is some sort of a major heat loss back there. There's always a lot of ice in that back section. But again, in the codes area, definitely found a couple of sources of water penetration. And then up in the front where the hallway in Amy's office, the same situation. So that minimal will hopefully get those taken care of and see what his recommendations are.
Okay, back to the estimate for engine 11. Transport, he gave me an estimate, roughly $300 for transport added to the final cost of the estimate here.
And they will do it?
That would be, yeah, they'll transport it. But at the cost of, add $300 to the estimate. So now you're looking at $5,657.97 roughly.
Or
Or
the 12,000?
Or the 12,000 full, 12,712.
Okay. So we need to see what the insurance company recommends. And
Well, I guess, are we submitting a claim either way, or?
we're going to submit a claim for either $5,000 or
Yeah.
$12,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the understanding that we're looking at pre-existing condition if there's another.
Right. Right. So see where that, if we go with the lesser of the two repairs, where does that leave us in the future? Okay. Old business. Training stipend. What have we got?
I've done some work on it. There still needs to be some details to work out. Retroactive dates, the process, the dollar amounts per class hours. Still need some work on that.
Okay. We'll continue working on it. New business, we have two applications. We have one from Jenna Martin. Passport approved by the board.
I didn't copy it. No, I didn't copy it.
So we'll make a motion to approve Jenna Martin.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
That's pending your physical, correct?
Correct. As usual, pending for physical.
And we don't have the requirement that you have to be out of high school, do some departments do. Some you can be 18 and still in high school, some you have to be 18 and over and completed high school before you can become a member. I'm just looking for clarification.
She can be in high school and be like,
Okay.
but I think it's, what is it? She has to submit, her grades have to be okay. It's just to work with the chief to make sure she's in compliance. The school isn't suffering because of her membership here. And I think, no, I think that's it.
That may be why other departments do it.
Yeah.
You know, wait until they're done, but good enough, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion on the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Second one is on Brandon Dosimo. Do you have a motion to approve Brandon?
What is it Brandon would like to do? Nothing's checked.
You want me to provide a little insight?
Yeah, it doesn't, what does he want to do?
So you was a previous member with Liverpool for a number of years, left there for personal reasons, but wishes to get back involved, would be exterior to start with us, kind of refresh some of his skills, and then with the possibility of becoming interior.
I move to approve.
Okay.
How much time did he do in Liverpool? You know?
What's yours? What tonight?
How much time did he spend in Liverpool?
I think it was at least 3 or 4 years, he told me during his interview. I don't know if it was mentioned in his application or not, but I asked him during the interview, and he said he was a member there for a number of years, but he's also been not involved in the volunteer service for a number of years. So he does have some training, but he'd need to refresh on some of his skills.
Any more questions? All in favor, pending his physical? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Who seconded that? I didn't.
Kit did.
Kit made the motion.
Okay, I did that.
Okay. Public comments, what have you got tonight?
How about any other additional new business? There's something that popped up.
Okay, additional new business.
Just jog my memory. A couple of months ago, I had made a motion kind of at the last minute to add the potential of 10 more additional part-timers because our calendar, they try as hard as they can. There's blanks, or there's one person working at a time. As more people develop, as the neighboring department down south develops, we could lose any of our people at any time. And we don't have a cushion at all. But if we add 10 more, you could have a third person, schedule a third person if you wanted to, and not worry about blank shifts. Now, I know Saturday there was a blank shift, but that was the holiday for the parade. So there was nobody signed up.
And I think that even though there was no career staff here, that we did have volunteers that did show up. So the call went answered. I think there was a good showing of people also, so.
And I think they knew that there was nobody there, that helped.
Which, I don't think the chief, you were here last month, but one of the things that was brought up is again, it's kind of hit and miss. It's been mostly miss. Have them say, there's nobody going to be on, just get that.
That will be readdressed.
Okay, thank you.
We do have 3 openings right now. I think 3 or 2. 2 or 3.
You can have up to 10. You can have up to, it's,
No, I mean openings meaning that we've been approved for 25.
30 or 35 from the last.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not even close to filling everything
Sorry.
that's out there. We've just, from day one, just barely to see how it goes, just barely, because the department, tried and said that they'll fill. We're gonna fall into the summer, and knowing some of our people that we have working part-time, half of them at least have jet skis and boats and everything else, and Tommy's smiling over there because he goes with them. They're not gonna be here. Some of them have camps. Your volunteers aren't gonna wanna sign up for them either. I think it's a win-win on both sides to get the coverage. And I think if you, 2 months ago I had checked, there's money in the budget. That I think it was 110 to do a full year would cover them. But as crews grow, with the duty crew that came in a month or 2 ago, I think as, they pick up, that may help also. But we're always been hoping for that. And
So let me ask you, Chief, do you feel as if we need additional people on to fill the void of what we've got staffing now?
Yeah, and to my understanding, I could be wrong, the Board of Fire Commissioners has approved up to 25. Civil service, we have 30 positions. I do believe that we are right, that's why in the report I talk about on apparatus. We have a number of folks that are showing up and signing but aren't making the call, right? So our numbers do show folks showing up. Those folks aren't making the rig, they're not making the alarm, they're not providing patient contact, they're not getting out there, right? And there's a number of factors in that. We can get into that and have huge philosophical discussions, but we won't do that. Duty crew, we don't know. Do we get advantage out of an additional person? Absolutely, right? Crew integrity, safety, the ability to respond faster with more folks. The studies are very clear on the efficiency of fire crews
But my question
with more
is,
folks.
not to interrupt, do you feel as if we don't have enough personnel here now? That's my question.
I would support a third. I would want to have discussion about what that third is, because putting a third firefighter on, now it creates operational issues versus
I
an
don't believe
officer.
that was what he's asking for. We had the discussion of a third person is not the question. The question is, do we need 10 more people so that we have 2 on all the time?
If we could clarify with Commissioner Chura, because I heard a third.
I would like to see a third. Part of the reason, and Chief, because I missed it because our printer went down at headquarters, I had some of the, you're laughing, did you break it last night?
No, we knew it wasn't working last night too, so.
And you didn't put a sign on it, thanks. Either way, Amy had provided me the alarm stats halfway through February. So my numbers were not far off from the chief's, it's just added the last week or 2. You are getting 3.33 people total from the department, both stations, per alarm. Now, that does not tell you what their qualifications are. Chief of Training, where is the majority of your qualifications?
Seat support, exterior members.
So they're not even going to, by the standards, they won't make the required staffing of 3 minimum interior people. And that 3.3 was offset because one of the Thursday nights, you had 21 people on the alarm. Okay, so that's skewed. So you're getting 3, so 1.5 people per station. Amy's been doing a great job. She's been going back a couple of years. And you can go back 5, 6 years, I think it was, and we were doing 9 people on an alarm or 10 people on an alarm. And it has gradually gone down. And in the last year, it's gradually gone down every month. Last month it went down, even though there was less days, I think it went down a few, maybe a point, but we had bad weather too. Realistically, I don't ever think the volunteer numbers will pick up. We brought in an exterior and hopefully an interior, but those are years down the road.
But also we're seeing an aging of the department where you're going to see less interior people. And in April, we're going to be seeing some people exiting. And our support staff is dwindling too. So all in all, we're seeing a gradual decline.
And I'm not sure where the April meeting is going to go, but you may have some people drop from interior to exterior or to just social. It's just keeping the boat afloat, that's all it is. And that's just getting one vehicle on the road.
I second your motion if you made a motion.
I made a motion.
I second your motion.
What was the motion?
For up to 10 if we can get them part-timers.
Because we're looking at possibly.
But that's up to 10.
You may interview 10 but get 8.
But see,
as like in the past.
This is where my question came in, is that yes, we're taking on 10 additional people, but we've not made that agreement to, or that motion to provide 3 staff 24/7.
So you want me to add them together for the motion?
I'm just saying that's why I asked, because there were 2 different things.
I would like to have 3 people staffed on the vehicle at any one time. 10 will put us into the spot where we are today with just barely getting 2. Putting 10 more hires on will barely get you 3. So does that mean in the future we could be bouncing from 3 down to 2? Probably. But hopefully it eliminates that bouncing down to 1 or 0. And you can look up north. I think this district did it the smart way. We hired a little bit at a time up north. They hired 3 people right off the get, 4 shifts, 24/7, 365, and it was 61 or 71% tax increase. I think we played it very well, and we as a board have kept coming back saying we need a little bit more versus a big hammer in the beginning.
You're talking about that we're not getting volunteers now. You put 3 on, you're not going to get them at all.
So over a year ago...
I don't care about a year ago. I'm talking right now.
A year ago, your membership said, we're going to beat this, and we're going to get out the door. The past president said that. And nothing happened, but your numbers kept going down.
It's the way it's all been handled.
I just said, going back 5, 10 years, you could watch the numbers decrease.
They're going to
Except for
decrease
Kit.
a lot more.
Nobody was on the board then.
So I need a clarification. Right now, Belgium Cold Springs has approved 25 part-timers. Is that, okay.
I think it may be higher, but
What
if you want 40, I can get you 40.
What has civil service approved for us?
If you want 40, I can get you 40.
No.
Give me what I want.
What have
I
they?
think we're at 35.
You think
I think so.
35?
I don't have that in front of me. Because again, 10 is still a soft area that I'm safe to say it.
I just want to clarify in my mind. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. So, Chief, are you recommending that we move to 3 per shift?
I don't recommend, I support 3 per shift. I think we have to have a conversation about how that's deployed. 3 firefighters per shift, somebody is going to be riding up on every alarm. Somebody's going to be taking on officer responsibilities on every alarm. I haven't, right, so going back to the CRR in 5 days, this is the first I'm hearing of deploying 3. Right, I think we need time to talk about how do we deploy that. Do we go to officer positions and put somebody in that officer position, and you're going to create a firefighter ride up anyway, right? But they are going to be out the door nearly immediately on every alarm, which means somebody's going to be taking that, right? So that person taking that is taking on the additional responsibility of being the officer, they're taking on the additional liability of being an officer, they're taking on the documentation, right? There are a number of things that are taken on by riding that right front. That needs to be discussed. If we do this just as a 3rd firefighter, I guarantee you the next meeting with the paid staff representatives will be compensation for the person riding up, if we don't already have that plan in place.
And months ago, they had asked for their own lieutenants and captains. So, but it's always work it the way you have it right now if you're okay.
Right.
But having a 3rd person on does not require an officer.
It requires somebody to ride the right front.
But right now, we
Taking on-
somebody rides in the front. Right front.
They do, right, but now it's going to happen on every alarm. So what I'm saying is I support moving to 3. I think we have to talk about how we're deploying it and the policy that goes with it, the procedures that go with it. I think we should put strong consideration towards hiring an officer. If we don't have, right, 2 firefighter positions, 1 officer position. If you don't fill the officer, a 3rd firefighter takes it, and we have to build the policy for how that's determined, who rides up.
And I agree. You would do the same in a super fantasy world. When you get to a 4th person, you're going to have different policy changes then too. My suggestion is get the 3rd person in the door, and as it comes in, or as you're working on it before they get here, start developing those policies.
Right, so if we do an officer, we manage a lot of that right out the gate. So I understand what you're saying, hire them and build it as we're sailing it. I would ask, let's take a breath, let's figure out who we want to hire, how we want to hire it. Do we want an officer or do we want a 3rd firefighter? That changes how we go about that and what happens. That changes our scheduling, that changes our hiring.
So you would say you'd hire a lieutenant or a captain off the street and not promote from within?
No, we would promote from within, but we need to designate those positions with the county civil. What I'm saying is, in the hiring, we need to determine if we're hiring a firefighter or an officer position. Right, do we create that 3rd position as an officer? And then build the policy, we fill that with officers and then build the policy for if we only have 3 firefighters for how we determine who rides up. Right, but just saying we're gonna hire a position, right, we have to, those, you're very well aware, right, the lieutenant or captain position would have to be designated. Right, so we need to make that designation. If we go with an officer, we have to make that designation. We need to talk about how we do that, and we need to adopt that position for Belgium. Right, so I think in having this discussion, I think we need to decide where does that go. I don't necessarily want to just say we're going to hire 10 additional firefighters. If our goal is to hire officers, right, put that out there and see, we promote from within. We have people that can lateral into that position sitting here right now. We have a few of them, right? Not enough to fill that. Right, is there other interest from civil service officers out
But even
there
if
to
you
fill
have them
this?
lateral into it, they're still in-house, you're just changing their title.
Correct. But that's a limited pool.
But you can still go back to my original thing is hiring 10 people. That's the thing, hiring 10 people, get 3 on the rig. Whether you have them out of title, or you make them official lieutenants, or official captains, or a ship lieutenant, that can all be addressed. It's like if you have 2 deputy chiefs under you, you can have one as an operations chief and one as an administrative chief. Doesn't matter the day that you put them, before you put them in, it's once you get assigned them, then you assign their positions.
Right, but a civil service lieutenant is a different position than a civil service firefighter EMT, so that's where the difference is. If you hire a deputy chief and you do deputy chief duties, that's one thing. We are talking about the difference of a firefighter and a lieutenant, which is 2 different civil service positions. If we are hiring somebody to ride the right front, we should be hiring a lieutenant to ride the right front. That's a different civil service position. That's not just folks, right? We have to make that designation.
I think you may be making this a little bit more complicated because you're not sure which 3 people are working at any one time, which will make your scheduling a lot more difficult. Because if it's the 3 of you and you're always the lieutenant and you take the day off, are you hiring another lieutenant and you having somebody out of title? Does Bill slide up into your seat? I understand that. Chief Gleason understands that because we did that manpower stuff. We that shuffle. I think you need to get the people in the door. And I don't think right now any of the 23, 25 that we really have, anybody's going to be stomping their feet because he got picked a lieutenant over me or anything like that. If we need to come on up and have an exam, half of the people I don't think want to take it because they're already a lieutenant someplace else. There's nothing better than riding off the back seat and making a hydrant. But it's deviating from where we're at. It also goes back to the thing you put out for your division of labor of following the 1710 and all this other stuff.
Absolutely, right, which is why I support the 3rd position, but we are now getting into one versus the other, right? So I strongly caution on just hiring folks without determining what we're hiring, why we're hiring it, and where we're putting them. Right? If we have an officer position and we hire an officer position, if we don't have an officer available for that shift, we hire right out. I understand exactly what you're saying, right? Just throw a pile of folks at it. The way I function is I would love to have how we're going to do that first instead of trying to build the ship as we do it. What is that 3rd position? Is it a firefighter EMT or is it a lieutenant?
It takes you a month or 2 to get them probably on the rig. Does that give you enough time to figure out who wants to be a lieutenant, who wants to be just a firefighter?
But it matters who we hire. If we're looking for 10 lieutenants, that changes how we hire. That changes the people qualified. That changes the interview process. That changes, right? That's exactly what I'm saying is all of these things matter based on the decision made of what we hire.
I think you'd be hiring firemen just like we did from the beginning. And everybody we hired was a firefighter EMT as a minimum.
And I will go back to then, you're hiring a 3rd firefighter and one of them is riding the officer seat. So you're putting them in an officer position.
You have 2 people on the rig right now with one in the officer seat.
I agree.
So you have the same situation except with a 3rd person there.
And I think we have an opportunity to get in front of that instead of being behind it.
So are you suggesting hiring a 3rd firefighter and a 4th as a lieutenant?
No. I'm suggesting that 3rd position be a lieutenant.
How many lieutenants will you need?
Quite a bit.
We gotta look at it.
Quite a bit, because you gotta have one for every shift.
Yep.
You gotta have one every day, every shift. Where do you stop?
I just wanted 10. You just got up to 14.
I know.
Okay, so I think that, do you want to vote on it or do you want to table it?
I'd like to vote on it because it violates every rule that's out there, them riding with 2. I'm sorry?
I'm talking myself.
I think we need more.
I think we need more too. I think that what we're looking at initially was a void of 2 people on for a lot of time. And then all of a sudden, we're going into 4 people with the officers and everything else, lieutenants and captains, and it's kind of snowballing. So the initial thing was, we have empty spaces out there where, yes, the volunteers have stepped up. Saturday was a perfect example of it, where, the void was filled. They answered the calls. We answered the calls. We got out there. We responded with multitudes of people. So that was the main concern. And then it kind of got into a third person, and to the chief's credit is yes, that person sitting in the right front seat is going to have additional responsibilities. We talked about that last night, that in order to do that, you're going to have to hire lieutenants or captains or whatever. There's going to be a pay increase in it also. If I've got additional responsibilities, I want to, and you don't, I want to make more money than you do. So I think that we're putting way too much ahead. It was just something simple. When you work on the schedule, put the schedule out there so that we know that there's openings, please. Whoever's doing the scheduling, it was kind of hit and miss out there again previously. Let's have it out there so that if there's voids, we can fill it. Again, when we have openings where somebody is not going to be here, that's the last person, let it, put the notifications out there. You want to vote on it? We'll vote on it.
I think training chief, am I wrong with the requirements?
You're not. But again, the way I understood from the first conversation was, we have voids. If we had a bigger pool of people, we'd be able to take care of the voids and have at least 2 people on. And then I understand the other concept, going bigger, it's just adding more people. May need to think about that when we add people. But I would go back and say too that the voids in the schedule, from a volunteer side, I don't see the schedule like I used to. I literally go on it, and I signed up on Saturday to be the other person, and then there was no one there. But I can't see into the future unless I sit there and scroll through, I'm responding. But before, we used to come out and say, here's the month, here's some spots, do you want them or not? And I don't see that.
So let me address that. There's no way. I put that on the board. It is as good as the moment went on the board.
And I know it changes because of jet skis in the summer.
It is constantly evolving, right? So the only place you're going to see that is I am responding. You can go into I am responding and see the schedule. That is the only place that's going to be accurate. Right? Putting a schedule on the board, it will change in the next 6 hours.
Well, again, I signed up to be the second guy, and I was the only guy because we got the call.
Yeah,
there was no one
right.
there.
And
He's gone.
we have to get better about that notification.
I'm just saying from the volunteer
Absolutely
point of view,
correct, and that has to be fixed. Everybody is right on that. That has to be addressed, right? But going back, right, I am responding is the only way you're going to be able to keep up on that because of the system that we're in.
I'm just saying, those are some of the things I'm realistic. I'm talking with the volunteer side. I want to be that extra person to jump in on that crew of 2 or the crew of 1. I don't mind. I know Mike has jumped in on those things too. We jump in where we can, and some of us are qualified, some of us are fully qualified. You get what you get. You may get a driver, you may get an exterior, you may get somebody else, whatever. But we're trying our best as volunteers to fill that void as when we can.
And I fully support the move to 3 and volunteers showing up and supporting it, right? Because now maybe we get 4 out the door, right? And now we are in that much better of a place. We are doing what we need to do. So I support this. My ask, being the one that's got to manage how this hits the road, is that we have a plan before we have this hit the road.
Agreed. Okay.
I'm asking for 10 more hires. It'll at least fill the voids that nobody is stepping up for. How you schedule them, it's up to you. So that leaves you could have 2, you could have 3.
We can't though. We're looking at 2, so we're looking at
By hiring 10 more, but you can still have 2 or 3 if the chief schedules it, whatever. I just want 10 more hired, so I don't have the voids. It's the chief, our 3 chief was saying.
Well, we've got 2 or 3 vacancies right now.
Okay, let's fill those 2 or 3 vacancies then, and let's move ahead from there. So there was some sort of a motion, I'm not really sure what the motion was. It was seconded, it's still on the floor, we discussed.
I'll rephrase it. It was to hire up to 10 more part-timers.
Good.
Period.
Period.
All right, roll call. Amy, are you gonna do this?
Hang on, I'm still typing the motion.
Okay.
And you second.
I seconded it, yes.
Okay, Commissioner Chera. Your vote on the motion.
I'm in favor of it.
Commissioner Thompson.
I'm conflicted. I guess I'll vote no, because I'd like to see a plan for those 10. And I think maybe another month is not the end of the world. Look for a plan.
Commissioner LaPriest.
Mr. Harrison's next.
No.
Mr. Malone's next.
I'm in favor.
And I'm no. Again, I think we need to move ahead, have a plan, and proceed with that. And hire the 3. If we have 3 positions open, let's get them filled.
We need 3 positions.
Kit says that there's 3 spots open.
I told you I can give you 10. So Kit, add 7 to your 3, and you'll get 10.
Well, Belgium is only approved up to 25.
I think it's more, but I don't have it right in front of me. I told you that
Well,
about
it would
10
be
minutes ago.
It would be in our minutes that we approved up to 25.
The board approved up to 25. I'd have to
For
look
the
back.
last
but I
hire.
think the board
For the-
approved
for
the
the
last
last
group of
hire.
hires up to 25.
Yeah.
That's different than what we've been approved by civil service.
Correct.
But you guys have already, as a board, already approved up to a certain number.
And we have some vacancies
Yes.
for that.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Okay, so let's fill those vacancies up to the 25 approved.
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully that'll fill the void, and with everything else, with the notifications going up, we'll have more people stepping up. Any other new business?
Yeah, I've got a question about, we've got apparatus coming in a few months, which is going to make us have apparatus go out the door. Since it's taking months to sell apparatus, should we be actually putting apparatus on the market now?
Sorry.
That has been a little bit of a discussion, and we can call and get that listed. I mean, 21, no one has shown any interest in that truck lately, and I don't know what the board would feel about looking at Auction International just to get rid of it, because I don't know, like I said, it's been sitting idle for months since I've had any communication on that truck.
What's our asking price now?
$75,000.
Well, if we put it on Auctions International, we're probably going to get 5.
Yeah, I know.
So we could reduce the price to 40 or something.
We could try.
That's the La France?
Yeah.
I would take a guess, even if you went to like 50, people are going to take it for parts.
Right.
Because you can't get the parts.
Right.
And it's not really a rusted out,
No, body-wise, it's in
rust
great
bucket or
shape.
anything like that.
Right.
there's still a lot of good parts on it. We just replaced it, that's it.
Yep. I mean, it's up to the board if you want me to contact the vendors, two vendors,
So you drop it down?
and drop it down to 50, and I will make those emails tomorrow.
I did talk to the roofing contractor to let him know that we did have something to barter.
Give them a truck.
And
I
he
just-
said,
I
does it
just
have a
do that.
ladder on it?
Yeah, I just threw that figure out.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's dropping it 20, 25,000 down, so.
I think you're looking at a realistic figure for it.
Okay. Then I will send an email tomorrow.
Okay.
But do we want to get the other ones on the market too?
Yeah.
I think that was the initial discussion.
Since we have another engine coming in soon, why do we wait for one engine to come in and have apparatus sitting?
You know, with a note that they would be available, I mean, July 1st or something, or,
After the delivery of the,
Yeah, a lot of them are worded that way.
okay.
Expecting a new delivery.
Yep.
You also have a better chance of selling it if it's still in service.
Right.
and what are you gonna list those at?
75,000.
I have no idea without doing any research and seeing what people had listed that year vehicle at. Maybe I can do some research, bring it up on next month's meeting, and then we'll agree on price and list.
Okay.
So you're adding the other pumper and rescue two.
If that's what everybody's agreeing to.
Well, that's what was the
That was the
condition
original.
for, if you're gonna purchase that, those two went.
Right.
So,
That's what we're doing, and
Okay.
Too well.
Very good. Any more new business? Any more public comments? Yes, sir.
I just wanted to mention, as far as the parking lot issue out front, I have seen county plow trucks use our, I can't blame it solely on them, but I can say a plow truck fully loaded with all its equipment, salt and everything could be
Making a turn.
upwards of, I want to say like 10 plus tons, so.
and you're driving over spring, that's definitely gonna put a damper on that.
You know, although it's not often over time, but
Right.
I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you, yes. I've seen that too.
and when Root was here, he was able to grab one of the county trucks and they did a lot of work on the side too. He goes, I don't think it was really the county, but I got him to do the work. So you may be able to get something out of them. Those highway people are. They do it.
Okay. Anything else? Executive session tonight?
I got one thing real quick for you. Sorry. You didn't look up. Retention. So in the communications meeting, we talked about retention, a couple things. One would be we discussed about training, you guys talked about stipends, but the meals and stuff like that too. So would you guys consider taking that up as a full body to discuss? Besides Thursday night's trainings, EMS training nights, stuff like that too. How you reimburse us as a department.
Are you gonna reimburse when the paid shifts are on?
As how?
Didn't you just say for food and stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah. When they're working, say reimbursement.
I'm all for it. I feed them all the time now. I'm good with it. There's ice cream. I make food for them. I have no problem with it. But there, like I said, we discussed besides just the Thursday night meetings is to do more than that on the EMS nights also. Just something to consider. You can see from our communication meeting minutes that was so kindly prepared for us. The other thing I'd ask too for retention also is we talked about duty shifts and people are doing duty shifts. The uniforms and stipend for the people that are doing the duty shifts equal to the paid staff. They get a stipend, they get uniforms, they're doing their hours every month. If the volunteers want to do the same amount of hours every month,
But don't you have a uniform budget for that?
Some things we can't get, other things, correct. We only have certain things we purchase with that.
Let me throw something wild out to you. Because
sir.
they just did t-shirts recently to match.
Who did t-shirts?
I don't know, there's something fire
The
rescue.
department did the t-shirts.
Correct, the department's paying for t-shirts,
And that's
correct.
gonna be
What
part
is
of
the
the,
thought of taking these uniforms, the volunteer, the paid, your Class B, the dress, whatever you want, Mr. President, get a committee together, and you disperse all the uniforms for everybody. Now, I know there's an allotment, whatever. That way you work through one group and it's done. But everybody gets 2% money. Other departments do it that way. Just food for thought. And then if it's Class B and you're the style of Class B, Tommy sitting next to you says, yeah, I need one of these. He sees the president for the committee, boom, it's out of the 2%. And if you've done, I don't know if you're on, you gotta do X amount of, if you have to be 10% of your alarms or whatever, then you're allotted the uniforms. If you're under the 10%, what do you need the uniforms for? You're not showing up. But it's all one fund, one set of clothing, one style. Everything's uniform all the way across the board, both sides. Just a thought.
And we are working a draft uniform policy that would start to standardize that like everything else, right? So having the online store, I don't know what the rules are around it, but there are several departments that tie response and duty hours to what's available in the online store. So we do have the ability with the new vendor to do an online store. So that's certainly something that we can approach and talk to, right? The department has to talk about that and decide that too. But if we have a uniform policy, right, there are things in there that have to be discussed for interior, for the new turnout gear, even though there's limited data, right, with no PFAS in it. Anecdotally, a lot of folks are starting to see differences in the wear of that in fires, right? So there's a number of things that we have to discuss. Agree completely that that should be one thing, should follow one policy. The minutia of that we certainly need to explore, but going to the online store, the department, the district, whatever fund is paying for that has the ability to set limits on what's in there, what's available, and the spending that happens for that. So I think we have an avenue to achieve exactly that. We have to figure out the plan to do that.
And this way, you're not trying to match stipend here to this, you know, their allotment or something like that. Just have one group and one set style of whatever you're going to wear. You know, and allow people X amount, you know, from what they've earned. Motion to adjourn.
Okay. No need for executive session on anything? Yes? Yes. Yes, that's no need, or yes, that's?
Yes.
Almost got the motion to adjourn.
I move we, make a motion, we move to executive session for something.
The resume and employment history of an individual which may lead to his or her continued employment with the district. G.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Any opposed? We should not be conducting any more business after we return from executive session. Thank you.